everyone, and welcome to today's behind the scenes video. I'm Anne and I'm one half of the Sussex Handmade Soap Company along with my good friend Wayne. And for today's behind the scenes video we're going to be talking about product formulation and new products. Our business has been going about 2.5 years now, and we began with just 8 soaps. That was how we started our business, just those 8 soaps. And we had those 8 soaps alone for about 6 months. Then we added another 8 soaps in, and we had 16 soaps that we sold for, it was at least a year. We were just selling those 16 soaps and nothing else. But we wanted to grow, we wanted to expand a little bit, and so gradually we have been adding more and more things into our range. We do body butters now, and this year we are hoping to introduce 3 new products. We want to introduce lip balms, we want to introduce bath bombs, and we want to introduce sugar scrubs as well. Just because it's quite nice to have a little more variety for people to choose from, and it's a lot of fun creating new products and having lovely new things. And the reason I'm including our formulation and this sort of behind the scenes discussion today is because it's so easy to look at somebody's company and see everything they're selling and see how beautiful they've made it look and not realise just quite how much work and effort goes into the actual formulation and creation stage of things. And it could be that if you're just starting and you're just beginning to make things, they're not going to turn out perfect straight away. But if you are just looking at these beautiful kind of product shots and videos of people who've been making for years and years and years and have got their recipe, you know, right down to perfection, you might feel a little bit kind of disheartened that yours isn't going as well as you kind of feel that it should. And I feel like that at times as well. When I'm starting something new, I have got that kind of personality where I want it to be perfect straight away. And I know that realistically that doesn't happen, but it doesn't take long for me to kind of get a little bit frustrated when things aren't going quite right, as they haven't been going quite right at the moment actually, but we're going to get to that in a little bit. Today we're going to be focusing on showing you what is going into the formulation of our bath bombs. And down the line, hopefully in 6 months or so, we are going to be selling the most beautiful, perfect bath bombs on our website and at the shows we go to. And I'd love to be able to show you one of those bath bombs now, but I can't because they don't exist yet. Because at the moment, my recipe is far from perfect. It's a lot better than it was when I first began, but we have got a long way to go before we've achieved the kind of level that I would be happy to sell. But I know I'm going to get there because I'm not going to give up until I have got there. So I'm just going to show you the behind the scenes of our product formulation of our bath bombs and show you how much work we've had to put into them so far. And the first thing I want to touch on is why it has taken us 2.5 years to actually think about introducing bath bombs, because I love a bath bomb and I would have introduced them quite happily right back 2.5 years ago. I absolutely love a bath bomb. Wayne's not such a fan, but I kind of find that if I just keep talking, eventually he lets me get my way most of the time. I guess that's me saying I'm a little bit bossy, which is kind of true actually. I can be a little bit bossy, but it all comes from a good place, I think, and a belief that, it's going to work. So we are a very much no palm oil company. We don't use palm oil in any form, whether it's responsibly sourced or whatever. We just don't use it. It's just not for us, I'm not here to judge anybody that does use it or whatever. That's completely personal preference, but for us, we don't use it. And until recently, I thought the only way I could create the really good bubbling, foaming sensation was with either SLS, which we don't want to use because it is not great for skin, it's very harsh, it's not a great ingredient from everything that I've read about it. I wouldn't be happy putting it in my products. Or by using SLSA, which is a much more gentle, really kind, gentle, it's much better for your skin, it's more natural, and it would be good if it wasn't derived from palm oil. And because it's derived from palm oil, or it can be derived from palm oil, we can't use it in our bath bombs because that would just completely go against what we as a business say that we provide. So we can't use SLSA because of the fact that it could be derived from palm oil, and I can't find anywhere any palm oil free or guaranteed palm oil free SLSA. So I thought bath bombs were kind of off the agenda until I discovered SCI, or sodium cocoyl isothianate powder. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's one of those words I've only ever seen written down, but I believe that's probably maybe how it's meant to be pronounced. And this is derived from coconut oil. You will need to check because it can be derived from palm, but this one is from Bay House Aromatics, and it is certified as palm free. And this will create a kind of bubbling effect as well. It perhaps won't create it perhaps won't create as many bubbles as the SLSA would, but it will create bubbles, and this is a really, really gentle surfactant. It's sometimes called baby foam as well, just because it is so gentle that it can be used in products for babies as well. So it is a super, super gentle ingredient. And we've been trying to use this to make ourselves some bath bombs. So the bath bomb journey has been going for about 3 weeks now, and it began with obviously researching recipes, and the first thing I found out was that there isn't a go-to recipe for bath bombs. It really depends on where you are, what the humidity is like, on a lot of factors that I won't go into now because I don't want this to be a video on making bath bombs, because I'm not qualified enough to produce a video like that at the moment. I can only tell you how things are going for us. So there were a lot of factors to consider. So I researched loads of recipes, spent a lot of time just reading up as much as I could. And I think when you're bringing in new product lines, you need to read about what you're trying to create. You need to know what you're trying to create and just research and learn as much as you can. So the first bath bombs we made, I don't have any of them anymore. I think they're probably, I think I used those ones. I'm not sure if they were ones that were just so terrible they got binned, but I think they probably got used. But anyway, they just wouldn't form together. I was using the moulds and I was squishing them together and they just were not forming at all. They were falling apart straight away. And it took me probably a day or two to realise that this was down to the humidity and the fact that the humidity was far too high where we are. From what I've learned, the best humidity for bath bombs is about 40%. And I checked the weather forecast that particular day I was making bath bombs, and it said that the outside humidity in my area was at 95%. And obviously it's going to be lower inside, but it's not going to be, that much lower. So that was problem number one. We solved that by spending a ridiculous amount of money on a dehumidifier, which I plugged in, turned on, and it told me that the inside humidity was 70%. So that was probably why they weren't forming very well. So we turned that on, set it to 40, let it run for a bit, and then things started to improve. We started to actually get bath bombs that were holding together. So that was problem number one solved. That took about 2 days to kind of solve that problem. So that was a relatively quick problem to solve in the formulation. So then I made some more bath bombs. In fact, I made quite a lot of bath bombs. And here are just a few of my experimental bath bombs, all of which have gone wrong for one reason or another. So yeah, product formulation doesn't always go well. You will not get perfect results first time. These are some of the bath bombs I say that have gone wrong. This was one of the first ones, and it is very soft, very powdery, but also it has activated. So we've got that kind of bobbly, powdery film. So failure number one. And again, so I tried again, and every time I was making bath bombs, if they went wrong, I was adjusting the recipe minutely, so perhaps I was upping the liquid by 1 gram or 2 grams, perhaps I was decreasing the liquid, perhaps I was changing the binder. I used witch hazel for a little while and I realised witch hazel for us was not working at all, so I swapped that out for water, and when I swapped it out for water the bath bombs did actually improve. And again I used a little rubbing alcohol, that was making them not work, so I moved back to water. So every bomb here has had a minute change in the ingredients. They're all still wrong. This one here, again, look, just falling apart. That was one of my major issues, was the falling apart. And I rectified it to a certain degree by upping my oil. Anyway, so as I said, we have got a lot of powdery bath bombs, but in relation to how they were when I first began, these are good. But this one, look, far too powdery, not nearly enough liquid in that one. But when you're just starting something, you don't know, do you? But again, this one, again, they are just crumbling away. And that's because I'd read that you had to have your mix fairly dry, drier than you thought you would have to have it. So I was really paranoid about making my mix too wet, and that was leading to me actually making it too dry. So I've got my initial bath bombs. I made these ones probably the very first week that I was trying the bath bomb recipe, and they have turned out pretty terrible, to be honest, but still better than the very first ones I made that didn't even form. So then I realised that I wasn't using enough liquid, and I read that water may be a better liquid for me personally to be using because of the location I'm in and the humidity. So I switched from rubbing alcohol and witch hazel in my recipe to using water in my recipe. I'd read that that would perhaps make them harder and make them work better. And it did work. I ended up with harder, firmer bath bombs. Oh. So these were kind of the round 2 bath bombs, and they're still a little powdery, but they're little, I'm pressing my finger fairly firmly into that, but it's still crumbling, but it's definitely firmer than those last ones. So then I kind of again played around with the ratios, and I thought, right, I'm going to see how much water I can add to make it firm. And I added 5 grams of water, which isn't going to tell you a lot because you don't know how much I used the rest of the ingredients, but in this one had 5 grams of water. And it is really, I'm squeezing that as hard as I can. That is rock solid. But too much water, because if you look, it has got that uneven, bumpy sort of surface, which means that the citric acid has started to activate, and it's not going to perform so well in the bath because of that, and it just doesn't look very pretty either. So we went the other way on this one and put in too much liquid, so then it was back to the drawing board and decrease the amount. Then I made this one, playing about with colours there, and again it's pretty firm. That side did activate a little, that side's not so bad, but it's too heavy, and I would bet money on if I tried to put this in the bath, it would sink and not float, which also makes it a failure. So that one failed because it was just too heavy. So, solution, I decided to try and pack my mould a little bit lighter, a little bit, less firmly. This one, packed less firmly, but I obviously made a mistake because, oh my goodness me, I did not mean to do that. That's gone everywhere. But as you can see, it crumbles, and you wouldn't want that to happen to a customer because that's just gone all over my carpet. And if that was a customer's carpet, there could be problems. Oh. So now let me bring you up to speed with my latest creations. These ones here are all been made within the last couple of days. In fact, some of them I only made this morning. So these are all my newest creations, and I'm getting better slowly. This one here is probably the one that is working the best so far. It is firm, it is not crumbling, it is light, but it still has that slightly bobbly surface. I'm not sure if it has activated a little or if it's just because I was using a coarser citric acid, but we have a little bit of perhaps activation and a not smooth surface. So, well, you know, technically this one may well work correctly. I'm not happy with how it looks because I'm a perfectionist and it doesn't look pretty enough to pass my test and be classed as a success. But, you know, much better than those ones that were crumbling away. Similarly, we have got this one here, which I think is going to be a little soft and a little powdery, but we're still playing with ratios. And we have got the yellow one, which again is fairly firm, perhaps a tad powdery, so I need to play with my ratio there, or indeed I did play with my ratio. I upped my cocoa butter. And what else did I do? I think, yeah, I upped the cocoa butter, so I'm hoping that the ones I created this morning will work well, but be not quite as powdery. This one was made a couple of days ago. No, it wasn't, it was made yesterday. It's still drying out, but again, slightly powdery. So then we're up to the ones I made today. And the two I've made today here are so far looking good. I have again played with my ratios, and the reason I'm not giving you my recipe, I think I said at the start of the video, is because this recipe is, I'm not happy with it, and I'm not going to give out a recipe that I'm not happy with because there's not a lot of point. I am testing it, and this video is to show you just how much effort does go into formulating a product, but I'm not happy to give you my recipe because, as you've seen, it hasn't really worked out too well so far. These two bombs were made with the same ingredients, the only difference being that this one had coarser citric acid in it and this one had finer citric acid. Everything else was the same, apart from the colour, obviously, but I wanted to see the difference between using coarse and fine, and that's how kind of pernickety I am being about my recipe and my testing. I want to see the difference, but I'm pretty happy with how they're both looking so far. They are not dry yet, so I'm going to be very gentle with them. But that's the coarse citric acid there. And then we've got this one with the fine. And they don't feel too powdery yet. Of course, that could change as they dry, but I am crossing my fingers that the recipe is still going to be improving. And I have written down pages and pages of notes on these. I have written down exactly what was in every single bath bomb. I've recorded the weight of the bomb after it was unmoulded. I've recorded how much weight it lost as it dried. The reason I've done them different colours is so it's easy to identify which is which. On my chart I say what colour they were so I can quickly see what bomb is what. So if I get one that works fantastically, I'm going to be able to remember which recipe I used, because there would be nothing worse than getting the perfect bath bomb only to realise that I can't remember what I put in it. So I've made numerous pages full of notes on every single bath bomb I have done and all the minute changes I've made, say right down to how tightly I've packed the mould, everything is recorded, and I'm hoping that in the next few days or weeks I might have managed to perfect my recipe. But that was just a behind the scenes view into us formulating products. I say these are business hints and tips. There haven't been any hints or tips today. It's just been a behind the scenes view into what we do when we're not making soap or making videos. We make a mess, we make bath bombs, we drop them all over the floor. Yeah, that's what we've been doing, trying to perfect a bath bomb recipe. We'll get there, I know I'll get there. And I say, the one good thing I can take out of this is I've learnt a heck of a lot of ways not to do it, but they generally are on the up, they are improving, so it means I am getting there slowly. So don't give up if you're perfecting new recipes, if you feel a little bit disheartened that, you know, you're trying to do something from somebody you've been watching online and it's not working and it's not looking as good as what they're doing, that's probably because they've been doing it for years and years and years and you're new to it. So I thought I'd show you today us messing up some bath bombs. So hopefully in a few months' time, when I'm putting out videos of beautiful bath bombs, you guys can come back and look at this one and see where it sort of began with the bath bombs for us. I think that's everything. I hope this video has been perhaps marginally entertaining, if nothing else. If you do like our videos, please do like and subscribe and give us a comment as well. Let us know, if you make bath bombs, how easy did you find them when you began? Because I'm finding them really tough, and I think a lot of people find them really tough. So let us know your hints and tips. Obviously, if you're in a different location and your weather is different, your tips probably won't work for me, but they might work for somebody else who is in a similar area to you. So let's all share our hints and tips and see if we can't make these bath bombs a little bit easier for everybody involved. Thanks for watching today, and we will be back on Friday with a soap video, something that I can do without making a mess and wanting to tear my hair out. We'll see you then. Bye.